I don't have any shame about saying like we are always number one. We always have to be number one. Everything else comes after. If we can do that, we will be able to better manage a lot of the stress that we have to deal with. It will be easier for us to manage our relationships with others because we won't seem so disconnected, you know, mentally and emotionally because we're so burnt out from all the other stuff that we're dealing with.
I know that many times some people might even call you selfish because you're like, what? You're taking half an hour to write on your little journal or whatever. You're not even going to show me. That's not, we're doing it for them. We're doing it for the people that you care about so that we don't end up like a lot of, like a lot of males in our community who snap, who end up aggressing towards other people. We can be better. And it starts with us. And it starts with our decision. So if you make any decision today, decide to do the work. So thank you so much, RJ. I think like
Can I add one more thing in there? Because I think this is important. Because you mentioned selfish. You mentioned selfish, right?
Yeah.
And I always like defining terms, man. I always like defining words so that way we really know what we're talking about, right? So when you say selfish, so let's be clear. So most people have like a negative connotation of selfish. It means that I only think about myself. Maybe I don't really care about what other people think. I don't consider how they feel, things like that. I don't advocate that type of selfishness. To me, I look at that more from reclassify that as looking at it from like an egocentric point of view. Everything's about me. The world revolves around me, right? It doesn't. But when we say selfish, when I'm saying selfish, I'm saying it from the perspective of I care enough about myself to prioritize myself. I must be number one in my life first. Everybody else, and I'll be very clear here because I say this a lot. I mean, everybody else comes second. Like my child, relationship, everything comes after you. Why? Because if I don't take good care of myself, everything else isn't going to be sustainable. All my relationships are going to be negatively impacted. If I'm falling apart and I'm not doing what I need to do, I can't be a good parent. I can't be a good partner. There's so many other things that are going to be negatively hurt. So I have to prioritize myself. So I always got to be number one. So selfishness is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
No. I love it. I'm glad that you made that distinction because again, like we might see selfishness in that, we might define it in that way, but most people don't. So it's important to make that distinction and remind people that, like, selfish is necessary, and caring for yourself is absolutely necessary, and that's again that's how you avoid burnout. That's how you maintain healthy relationships. That's how you can do a better job at your job, regardless of what you do. Like if you're not your full self, like a lot of the time you're gonna feel like people are gonna be basically taken away from you, and we don't want that. We want to be giving, especially if you're an empath. Like you want to be giving, but we want to make sure that you give what you have. Like you can't give what you don't have. So it's make sure like you can't give what you don't have.
Big fact.
So make sure you come first. Like take care of yourself. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree, man. I think I always thought of it like, I know a lot of times in therapy people use like teacup metaphors, but I always think about just a simple point that you always want to pour into yourself first, right? If I have this bottle and it's full, right? This is my emotional capacity. This is what I have, but I'm pouring it out for Carlos. I'm pouring it out for my clients. I'm pouring it out for my child. I'm pouring it out for my family, my friends. What happens when this thing is empty and then I have to look at myself? There's nothing here. There's nothing left. So then what am I supposed to do? That is the slow path, slow burn to burnout. Because I don't give myself anything. And that's not sustainable. I never advocate anything to my clients or for myself that is not sustainable because it's not a good outcome. I love people who are, because I consider myself to be too. I love those of us that are empathetic and that care so much about other people and other causes. I love that. I think those are great qualities and great attributes. I would never say anything about that. But we do also need to consider making sure we have appropriate boundaries. Because again, if I don't, and I care so much about everything else and everything else, then there's nothing really left when it comes back to me. It's like I gave to this cause, this situation, this person. And then when it's my turn, again, there's nothing left. I'm pouring nothing out into my cup. My only counteract counteraction to that is to say, let me pour myself first, which is why we were talking about being selfish, and then make sure I give to everybody else, because then I know that I'm going to be able to continue doing what I'm doing. So if I'm doing Carlos's work, I'm not going to have to sacrifice all the other things that I have going on personally because I gave to somebody else, and then I effectively can't keep doing this. If I want to keep doing lives, I can't do it. If I want to help my clients, I can't do it. Why? Because there's nothing left. I'm all messed up, and I had a period of time where I was able to be effective, and now it's done.
Just crash. Exactly. And again, yes, we have like degrees in psychology, but also like I'm personally saying this from personal experience. As someone who's burnt out for just that, for like not filling my cup first, and working in a field that requires a lot of like intention and a lot of work and a lot of giving, I was burnt out, and I ended up not being able to serve anyone for some time. And that just defeats the whole purpose. If you're a giver, if you want to be empathetic and like give love to other people, it's important for you to make sure that you give love to yourself first. Because that, like RJ said, is sustainable. Like anything that, if you're picking up any habit, if you're doing anything that's not sustainable, you gotta take a step back and see what other options you have, or how we can pivot whatever we're doing to make sure that it is sustainable. Because that way we can continue to help, we can keep it going, and we can continue to give ourselves to the people that matter to us in our own life.
Yes.
So
absolutely, man. I think that part is critical when you're talking about relationships. It's like, and I'm trying not to go on a tangent, but I think about it so much, like the people you care about, the people that you love, you want to be there, you want to support them, you want to encourage them, but you also understand that, like, as much as I want to be there, like, I got to make sure that I'm there for me first, so that I can continue to support you, to encourage you, to love you, whatever it is that you got going on. Or even just be there for you, be the helpful ear, right? Be there to listen to you and give you that space that we were just talking about, to listen to you. But I have to make sure that I'm always a priority. That's why I don't have any shame about saying, like, we are always number one. We always have to be number one. Everything else comes after. If we can do that, we will be able to better manage a lot of the stress that we have to deal with. It will be easier for us to manage our relationships with others, because we won't seem so disconnected, mentally and emotionally, because we're so burnt out from all the other stuff that we're dealing with. And especially for those of us that do this type of work, I would say even more so, it's important, because it's very draining. It can be very mentally and emotionally draining to do this. Still love it. But that means I have to be more intentional about making sure that I take care of myself, because I can easily just take on and take on and take on. And then when it's time for me, I'm sitting here, out of shape. I don't eat well. I'm probably getting sick all the time. And then my relationships suffer. But I'm like, yeah, but I care so much about you guys. I want to be here for all my clients. I want to be here for everybody else. I do. But let me show up for me first. Then it's easier to show up for everybody else. That's the only point I wanted to make there.